Awesome. Julio. Hey, everyone. It's my fun day to facilitate. And because of that, you all get to do a fun activity because that's what I like to do. As soon as my Zoom just got all weird. Oh, there we go. Okay, cool. Okay. Welcome to the Tuesday Clean Call. I today would love for everyone, because we are having an informal gathering, to give us a little update, introduce yourself, but more importantly, tell us which blog you are feeling today. Which of these blobs represents how you're feeling, how you're coming to this call today? And I am going to go first. And so I'm Kristen Poppleton. I am the Senior Director of Programs at Climate Generation. I am with the Clean Board. And I am feeling, because I'm with you all, either 11 or 12. I don't know. They both seem generally similar. And I feel friendly and secure on my limb. And I will pass it to Ginger.
Oh my goodness, this is the cutest thing ever. Also, a total aside, Kristen, did anybody see the International Women's Day Google Doodles? Because you were in it. I swear to God, it was you. Yeah, there was like this little redheaded character with curly hair, and I swear it was you. And I was gonna do a screen grab, and I got sidetracked. But anyway.
Oh my God, I want to see it.
I think they archived that stuff. I'll find it and send it to you.
Okay.
I think I will go with, oh gosh. You guys have no idea how much time I have spent literally in trees. I will go with 10 because I also could be 19, 21, or 13. So I'm just going to go with 10 because 10 looks neutral and ready to work. How's that? And I will pick Frank Granshaw.
Okay. Yeah, I'm having a hard time choosing there. I originally got attracted to 10 and then I sort of wandered up to 20, but then my attention got turned down to 9. And I think I'm going to have to go with 9. I like the idea of grabbing a hold of a rope and swinging it on a tree. But that being said, oh yeah, I'm Frank Granshaw. I'm from Portland, Oregon, with Portland State and a few other places. And talking about Portland State, one of the things I just popped into the chat for your enjoyment is early this morning, the Global Environmental Change course that I am teaching this term finished their virtual tours of climate resilient communities and doing their presentations. And so I posted the link for their presentations for their virtual tours of their communities. And there will soon be another crop of virtual tours in there because we teach 2 sections and the other instructor was doing the same thing with the folks. So anyway, and keeping to the Frank theme, Frank Leopold, why don't you go next?
Wow, I've seen this tree, the blob tree, many times. This is the first time I've had a hard time figuring out which one I am, if I'm any one of them. So I'm Frank Leopold, NOAA Climate Program Office, Climate Education Program Manager and Coordinator at NOAA, but also on the Clean Board and many other things. But boy, I don't know. I mean, these are tricky times right now. And Frank, last time I was on a roach swing, the last place you want to swing is toward the tree. Usually you swing along the tree or, but toward that's an interesting choice. But anyway, let that go. I don't know. I mean, I'm always 11 and 12 all day long. Because that's how everything gets done that's important to do. The part of me is 14, part of me is, 4, It feels like I'm at the bottom, trying to figure out how to climb the tree. It's just so crazy how things are working right now. So, Gina, why don't you go next?
I hear you. There's a lot happening. And I could be a lot of these. I think I'm mostly relating to 7 right now, which probably concerning. Person that blob looks a little upset. I feel like life is forcing me up the tree and I'm very tentative about it. But 6 is there helping, which is a great metaphor for life currently. So yeah, I'm 7 today. How about Carrie?
Yeah, I'm Carrie Herndon with National Center for Science Education. We are continuing to plug away at our curriculum right now, working on evolution, the of the month, misconception-based curriculum. Today, I'm feeling like 10. I've kind of going on around me, but I know what I need to be working on and just split with a good attitude. How about Emily next?
Hi, everyone. I joined late, so if you can remind me what I should be doing, that would be great. Thanks.
Emily, can you see the shared screen?
I can, yes.
Okay, so you get to choose which blob you're feeling today. Which one are
Feeling.
you? Yeah.
Okay.
And introduce yourself too.
I'm Lisa Brenneman with UCAR Center for Science Education. I'm a program specialist with them. And just hearing a little bit from when I joined, folks are feeling mixed of things. And I think I'm kind of feeling that as well. I can resonate probably throughout the day with one of the, or most of these blobs. I think, I want to be 9, swinging from a tree and just enjoying. But there's moments that I feel like I could be a 7. And then, but I think most of my job is, supporting the rest of my team and all the various projects we're working on. So I also feel like 2, and 6 as well is a little bit resonating with me right now. And since I joined late, is there someone who hasn't gone yet that needs to go? Wendy? Okay, I'll pass it to you.
I am in the late arriving crowd as well, Emily, so I gotcha. I am Wendy Abshire, AMS Education Program Director. The blob tree is always interesting. We move all over, which is why it's endlessly relevant. Today I am not identifying with 5, 9, and 14, which seems good on 2 counts and 1. There's no time for play. There's no time to lay at the bottom doing nothing. And I'm not in free fall. So I will say that I am closest to 2, 3, both in both roles. Carrying my team is 2, and I am full on 3, not giving up. I'm climbing. And fortunately, you cannot see my expression on my face in 3 because it could be any of the expressions of the blobs. That's me. Was there anyone else that hasn't gone?
Yes, I haven't.
Jim.
Thanks, Wendy. So I'll go with 18 on the condition that 16 and 17 at least have like climbing wall ropes on them, because we don't put our kids in dangerous positions like they are right now. But if they're having what they're doing in cool is good. And this especially as I just got off a call with our Climate Club DC. I'm a mentor for Climate Club DC at Lowell School in Montgomery County, Maryland, and Mobile Climate Science Labs. We just got off a meeting with the Natural History Museum Smithsonian of a second meeting where the first one, they were bringing up a lot of problems with what we were proposing. And this one, as they said, we've solved the problems, we're going to do it. The kids are learning how to make successful climate action, changing at a more rapid pace and more fully the lighting in an older museum from incandescent to LED, where we can identify them where they don't know they are, and we're finding the solutions of how to get them in. And it's a big thing, including we're just asking, can we have some of the old incandescents to put in our display case at the school as a display of how we are saving the oceans along with them. So it's pretty exciting. The kids are learning to work with federal agencies, helping federal agencies, and the federal agencies are coming back to us and saying, yes, these kids are doing valuable work and we are taking action on climate change. And I don't know if there's a more significant city to see that happen than Washington, D.C., the city that symbolizes inaction of log jams. And, we know that there are people like Frank who are the hope and the movement forward. And with kids together, I think we can make some great things. So definitely pretty happy right now. And by the way, we've got kids coming in. They've invited us back. They want more information. And so now we have a whole bunch of high schools taking this energy surveys. So we can have many teams going in. And that's just one museum. But we wanted to really start with them for a lot of reasons. So thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, everyone, for getting blobby for a minute. I know some of you gave some little short updates, but since today is an informal conversation, if folks have longer ones, they should feel free to share them. And or if there are topics that you would like to propose that we informally discuss as well. And I love Gina raising her hand. If you could raise your hand if you want to share something, that would be a great way to do it too. Gina, go for it.
We are getting towards the end of the Clean webinar series. Next Tuesday, our friend Tamara Ledley will be giving an En-ROADS presentation with the climate simulation. So I'll put a link to that in the chat, and if folks can continue promoting and sharing, that would be super helpful. So yeah, thanks.
Wendy.
That was me just giving the thumbs up to Gina.
Oh. I can jump in if there's no other one. And just say, as I find the link, if you haven't seen, our Summer Institute for Climate Change Education is finally up and ready and open for registration. This year is going to be similar to last year, but a slight iteration. So we are working with 13 organizations around the country to collaboratively plan this as we did last year. Those organizations will be leading regional cohorts. The Institute will be meeting online the 18th and 19th as a large group of 350-ish probably. We had 352, I think, attend last summer. And then the third day will be in a cohort on a cohort day. Some organizations are choosing to lead those in person and some are choosing to lead them online. And you will find out when you register which one that is based on whatever community that you are regionally hoping to attend. There is also a North American option. So, and that is led by our very own Katie Boyd. I will say that as I step more and more back from like being the planner and just being sort of in awe of the planners of this is a really interesting process. And I feel like I'd love to do a session on Clean around it. While Climate Gen is leading on this with NOAA being our longstanding partner, thank you, Frank. These 13 organizations like come together for 2 hours a month and like really collaboratively plan and are facilitated through this process that's like centering the things that we see to be really important in climate change education, which is becoming more and more, of course, like with a justice and anti-racism focus. And it's just super cool because we have a number that are of orgs now that are coming back for second or third years, and the conversations are just becoming richer and richer. And the network that's being built, I feel like, is just getting stronger. And so it's just a really fun community of folks doing this. And I'm like really proud of them. I could say that because I'm not doing this work as much anymore. Like Lindsay Kirkland is leading on it, our climate change education manager. So if you have, folks in your network, we are also starting to do speakers, requests out to invitations to folks to be speakers. We usually have close to 75 probably sessions in the Institute. So there's a lot of opportunity to do that. Please remember that as well, because you are all experts in our network, and you can kind of get a sense of the themes. We are looking for, if you all have seen some fantastic, like inspiring, hopeful speakers lately, send them our way. We're really trying to set a tone of lightness this year, of recognizing just what teachers have been doing and facing in the world. So if you have any suggestions, please send them our way. We would love to hear about them. And if you have questions or anything, let me know. That's my announcement. Frank.
So I'm working on a new idea that I think is just, this is just officially a couple days old, but one of the things we know is that cities are increasingly, in counties and states and subnational entities, are taking climate action, businesses, institutions, and they have plans that describe what they're doing, and they measure their plans against certain, strategies, or strategies advance those plans. And consistently, one of the weakest areas is education, and capacity building, and community engagement, and all the things we do consistently. And there is an organization called ICLEI, which is a backbone entity worldwide, and they build guides for how to build climate action plans. One of the ideas I have is convening a group to build a guide to accelerate your climate action through education, training, public awareness, those kinds of things, of what are the best things you would tactically do in your community to accelerate your climate action through the things we do in our community, in the language of what they're used to reading about how to plan and implement climate action. Same structure, maybe even the same author, which would be ICLEI. So that the people who, and a lot of us know people who are leading climate action, whether it's resilience, mitigation, sustainability, those are usually the big three. Sometimes disaster risk reduction. There are lots of kinds of plans, but we do know that if you don't have the people involved, don't expect to go fast and have big impact. And secondly, don't expect to have the capacity to actually do the work. One of the things we're seeing is as a recent report came out that said that the human capital to implement our climate targets just ain't there. And and as we really ramp up these new sectors, there are a lot of skills that are needed that we are not making in our school systems, in our community colleges, in our colleges, and our universities. It's just not happening. There's a lot of missed opportunities here. So anyway, it's just something I'm floating as I get further into it. I'm assuming some people might be interested in this, but I think it's a powerful tool, and it's something I've been bubbling on for a little bit. So if you're interested, let me know. So anyway, I'll stop there.
That seems a little bit like what Andre's doing in San Mateo. Because they're
yes.
working, she's working from their action plan level, you know?
Right. And so one of the plays is to go with communities like San Mateo, California. But I just learned that the county I live in Maryland, has a climate action plan that has a robust climate education part. And it's pretty impressive stuff, but not comprehensive. So there's a lot of plans that have pieces and they have ideas and parts, but it would be interesting to write the guide to all of the parts that you could put together. Plus, you know, the youth engagement work we do and youth leadership work, really important part. Could be missing in many places. Career and technical education. Oh, you mean community college has something to do with jobs and new emerging, you know, I didn't know. I'm a mayor. Who knew? Well, that would be in the guide. So just keep on going down the list of all the things that you could do to activate your community from within your community, as opposed to trying to always do it from outside.
Yeah, we had a meeting with Hennepin County, which is what Minneapolis is in, last week, with the woman who is facilitating their new climate action plan. And this was like, what would you, she's really cool, like an innovative thinker. And she's like, what would you all, like, what should we be doing? I'm so impressed by like your work. And I was like, you should have education and youth engagement as part of your climate action plan. And it's, I mean, us writing a guide is one thing, but it's actually, you have to actually tell them, because then they go, oh, like, it isn't like I haven't ever been received with like, that's the stupidest idea I've ever heard. It's just like not naturally embedded in what they're doing. And she's like, I'm super excited about this. Let's have a follow-up discussion. Let's figure out how we can get your youth, you know, involved in XYZ. So the plan is great, but it's the connecting part that I feel like sometimes I just need to like, come on, click, you know.
but Krista, I mean, I think like the youth power, totally inside this, right? But there's other things that are in there that are critically important, like your cultural, you know, education institutions like zoos, aquarium, museums. Did you know that you had 5 institutions in your community that are been trained by Noki? That could be part of what you're trying to do to bring that local story in. Did you know that you had broadcast meteorologists trained by Climate Matters who are on air right now, that you could actually work with them to help you accelerate your outreach and engagement and lift the stories of what you're doing in your community, just by knowing that they exist in your community? I mean, there's just a whole lot, just keep on going. But I'm trying to get as tactical as we can, as fast as possible. So it feels like, since we've already talked about this much, it's smart. So that's generally why I raise it, because if you guys go, that's stupid, then I'll stop. Thanks.
Kristen, you're muted.
Oh, Frank or Jim, whoever feels like they're next.
I think Frank's ahead of me.
Yeah, and I want to jump in because I want to sort of build a little bit on what Frank was saying here. I gave you that link for the student presentation I should say, for the students' tours. It's a Google Earth, it's built with Google Earth web, their projects function. And I gave it to everybody for some reason, I've got an ask along with this. And that ask is, if you take a look at it when you have a chance and see what you think about what the students came up with, if you see something that you feel that is particularly good, send those kudos over to me so I can give them to the students. The other part of it is, and this is where it builds kind of on what you're talking about, Frank, is that the gist of this is their capstone project for the term. And what they were doing is, within groups, they were selecting a community with a climate action plan, talking about, okay, what's normal, what's normal in terms of the ecology and the landscape, et cetera, and the economy for this and the climate for this area, what's been changing, what does their climate action plan look like, and what's been and what progress has been made on that plan. This is not the first time I've done this project with students, but it's the first time that we've been as deliberate and as systematic about the execution of this project. And it's such that I'm actually looking that the next time I teach this course, what the goal is the students are going to be building onto it. And so one of the things about building onto it is being able to have some resources outside of the university, outside of our local area, in some of these communities that they're interested in, that they can turn to get do some additional research. So anyway, take a look at it. Tell me what you think. I'm eager to hear your ideas.
So cool, Frank. I can't wait to explore this. Jim, or Frank, Leopold, did you have a question first?
Go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, just a quick reaction. One of the things I'm suspicious about with these climate action plans that are all over the place is if you went to Christchurch, New Zealand, a place I'd like to go. I was just exploring your tour. How many people in that community are aware of what has been identified as vulnerabilities, what has been identified as actions that they should take, are committing to taking, and are beginning to actually do in specific ways, and are they on track to meeting their targets? I would imagine, I remember having a conversation with a teacher in California, in LA, a long time ago, who was doing a lot of climate work, had no idea LA had a climate action plan. So I think that the connecting people with their plan, it's their plan.
Yeah.
No one knows. You have no idea that you're doing this stuff. It's just completely invisible.
And that's generation number 2 of this activity, is getting the students during their research time to connect with the communities.
Well,
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
well, I think James, did you already go? Your hand's still up.
Sure. Well, I could do.
Is it connected to what we were talking about, though, Jim?
Yeah, I can.
Oh, great.
I can, but if you don't mind, I'm going to say what I was going to say a little bit and then circle it back to this other. So, I mean, if I do it the other way around, it'll be kind of like, what are you talking about? It would be looking for ways that in where we're doing this is recognizing, of course, one of the great things that's come out of COVID is the ability to communicate so much better, so much well. When we have teams of students who are really breaking ground, are doing this, they're in a position to help other students and other teachers and school districts. How do they do it? How do they do things? How do you think? It's very inspirational. Our kids just knocked it out of the park on giving a really fantastic Zoom call with directors of the Natural History Museum. I mean, and how did they do that? How did they get them to change their point of view? How do they do things? The action they're taking is an action that can be done everywhere. The point isn't that people need to take this specific kind of action, making energy efficient light fixtures in big places, which can save tremendous amounts of energy and reduce carbon footprints. But the elements of how they did it are at least an example of one way it can be successful. Now, in doing this success, here we go. Part of the way it works is we're working with the local governments and the state governments and their action plans. Montgomery County, as Frank alluded to, has quite a good, I know, climate action plans. We've had them in California. Some go somewhere, some are just nonsense, they're just for show. They don't actually do it. Montgomery County is a great action plan, and I do see real good signs that they're actually doing on it, but they're very eager to work with our students. So it's connecting on the community level. How can we bring the strength that all of our programs have? Everybody here represents at least one program, and there's many more in the Clean Network. How can we share and interweave those? Now we have Zoom, and we have this way that if a school district or a school or a climate club want to get to know students or us, we can go into the classroom where that idea was like, that was not practical before COVID, to have slideshows and meetings and discussions, but lively ones. So that's the thing I want to do. But I am doing the thing. If we're not connecting on the community level, connecting with our communities, if we're not tapping resources, then if we don't do it, it's almost like we are trying to hold things back, and we're not, right?
Did you want to say?
Yeah, I just, so the comment that Frank Newpold made about the, do the people in the community even realize there's a climate action plan? And that just, you know, you guys have heard me talked about public engagement before, and the idea that a planning department or the city manager or somebody is writing a climate action plan absent of community input is really bad, and probably is what's happening in many, many cases. And so, you know, again, figuring out the education component, making sure there's an education component, but also there's a public engagement component so that you don't have plans that are maladaptive, you know, like planting trees in a neighborhood where the people can't afford the water bill to water the trees and the trees are going to die would be maladaptive. So, you know, those sorts of things. And I think that your idea, Frank, about the working with ICLEI, I think it's really critical to remind those other people that things are intersectional and we need to be talking to each other precisely like you said, to be able to scale up.
Yeah, I was, oh, go ahead. Well,
Ginger, just a quick response. A lot of times what I'm hearing is that the development of the plan is one thing, right? But then the implementation of the plan is where a lot of breakdowns happen. I have a lot of sympathy for people who are in these climate change offices or sustainability offices in cities and counties and states and whatever. They are so deeply understaffed. And one of the fastest ways to help them with their task is partnership and collaborations as opposed to staffing it themselves. And so, you know, but they don't even realize that they have organizations like Climate Generation or this and this and this and this. And then there are these other institutions that they have no entry point to. I'm struck with how much help they need. It's like it's so beyond what they're being asked to do and what they need to do. There's just such a vast chasm between those two. And you need a lot of help to pull these things off. So, you know, it's really in the spirit of that where I'm coming from is like, how can I help you? And how can we help the next one and the next one and the next one? And that's what I'm seeing is their answer is, yeah, I could use a lot of help, but they don't know exactly how they could work with us and what we could actually do. So anyway, I'll stop. Sorry, I've said so much.
no, I mean, I only get so much. We're just having an informal conversation, Frank. It's all good. I was going to add just my experience so I serve on the city of St. Paul has a climate justice advisory board, which is advising on the implementation of our climate action plan, our CARP, Climate Action and Resilience Plan, which was developed through some pretty amazing public input, but that was by folks that would know that a climate action, I would say, kind of is out there. And even like this group, this board, who is our staff that we lead on is like our climate manager, our resilience manager for the city, is like, we've spent a year like basically saying we need to do public engagement on this stuff. We need to do public engagement on this stuff. It's, you know, and you meet monthly or whatever, but it's just, once again, it's going back to like educate. This is the critical piece, is like that education of education's like need is like going back to that, like why this is even important part, because we're also advising on, you know, how should we spend the American Rescue Plan dollars and doing this weatherization program, or we have these really cool EV car hour card program. But like, if it's not being explained, A, that it exists, but B, that like there's a connection to actually in St. Paul, like it's a pretty like blue, very blue city, and people are pretty green in general, but like that it is connected to climate, what they're doing, then it's just like useless. So those, like, if there are other case studies of that connection being made, which like for me, it has been, San Mateo County is a great example that I recently stumbled on, but like, I would love to know about those too. Like those are like the success stories of connecting that. Cause even when you have, like I said, a climate justice advisory board who's like saying this, it's still not like making that connection, I would say. Other thoughts or a shift in conversation? Does anyone have another topic or anything they want to go down the road on? Frank, you usually have like 5 times. Ooh, Emily's got her hand up.
It's more of just a reminder plug, because I figure if you missed one of the last 2 meetings, this is new. If not, I apologize. It's another plug. We are going to be doing a panel discussion on March 30th as part of the Worldwide Climate Justice Teach-In, and just if we could continue to help spreading the word, it's going to be a great event. I'm pretty excited by our panelists, because we have folks, we have youth, which is the first time that UCAR and NCAR has really tried to do this kind of thing. So we're pretty excited that we're dabbling our toes into that and hopefully get to do more. So we're hoping this is a success.
And this is on the 30th?
It is. It's on the 30th, and there's 2 options. So there's a 11, both are Mountain Standard Time, but 11 o'clock and 6 p.m. And so we're hoping to get folks on various time zones, and also if teachers want to join with the class or do after school groups. And it's going to be the same panel, but we might change up the discussion a little bit, not majorly, but maybe same theme, but maybe different questions, just to get the panelists, not too bored, not to have the same conversation twice.
I appreciate it, Emily, because Amber Liggett is one of the newest members of our division in NOAA. So the fact that she's there is, I'm loving getting to know her and her work. And did you get connected with her from SOARS?
Yes, yeah. We that's our connection with her. We have a couple of SOARS alumna on the board or on the panel, and then we have a couple of local youth climate activists, and yeah, so we have a great group of folks, and we're pretty stoked that we really think it's going to be a great discussion. And our moderator she's going the extra mile and having one-on-ones with all of our panelists, trying to get to know them. So it's a really authentic conversation. So that's what we're really excited about, is that we want it to be a great discussion, and we're hoping for great input from the participants as well. So yeah, I'm excited to meet Amber a little bit more. She I think was a SOARS protege when I hadn't quite, either I was brand new and I hadn't met anyone from SOARS yet, or it was right, we just missed each other. So I'm pretty excited to meet her and work with her a little bit on this. That's it. Thanks.
Any other thoughts? Topics? Conundrums?
I after this conversation, the call for speakers for the International Association for Public Participation Conference in September was supposed to be closed, but I think they extended the deadline. So now I'm thinking maybe I'll offer a session on public engagement for climate action and environmental justice, and then promote a whole bunch of stuff that we do through these organizations as things that, because I'm sure that there will be people at that conference that are somehow engaged in facilitating climate action plans in their communities. We'll see.
Cool. How's everyone doing after that awesome IPCC report?
I buried my head in the sand and haven't looked at any more details.
That's
Well,
real.
One of the cool things I caught in it was, I'm trying to remember which I actually can pull it up. One of the key findings, D51 and D53 in the summary for policymakers. But this idea that the cumulative scientific evidence is unequivocal that climate change is a threat to human well-being and planetary health. And there's a lot more to that line, but just that frame, human well-being and planetary health, was the first time I've really seen the connection between planet and human well-being as explicitly connected in a scientific document like this. And why that's important is, so I'm working on a side project on a climate empowerment theory of change. Keeping it quiet for now, just trying to get it off the ground and get a coherent version of it before I bring it out to widen the circles. But what's interesting is when you start at that place, I've always cared about tropical rainforests, but because we live in one atmosphere and we have one climate system, that the health of a carbon strong uptake sink forest actually is directly connected to my well-being. A kelp forest that is locking up carbon is actually directly connected to my personal family well-being. So the idea of connecting human well-being and planetary health explicitly together was for me eye-opening opportunities, so that things aren't segmented and disconnected, and it's actually one system, and that's encouraging, because ultimately at the end of the day, we need thriving, robust, healthy ecosystems in order for us to have a livable future simultaneously. And so, you can't just have, EV rich cities with, solar panels everywhere and we're good, right? Like, nope, it's bigger than that. But how it connects you is the climate system, the carbon cycle. It connects us all. So it was, I found that to be enlivening, and that's a word. So I liked it. I mean, of course, all the other stuff is devastating, but I'm like, where's the gem inside of this cloud of terrible? I'm like, and that one's one for me.
I feel like this report was my adaptation moment. I've been waiting for it to happen, but it was my like, okay, I guess I gotta really, and really from the justice perspective, like it's actually not just or equitable to ignore the fact that we need to be adapting. It's actually, which maybe you all had that aha, but I was like, oh, we actually need to do this too. So that's been an interesting thing just to wrap my head around, like, how do we communicate on that and make sure that it's both sides? But yeah, that's actually what we need to do as well. And I'm like geeking out on the whole maladaptation thing too, because that was a new word for me. And so I'm like, I like learning new things and learning how to use new words.
Do you listen to America Adapts? Have you ever listened to America Adapts, the podcast?
Mm-mm.
Oh, go binge that.
Oh, yippee. It sounds so fun. No, I'll put it on my list. I listen to podcasts though.
I'll send you an email with some of my favorite episodes so you know where to start.
Awesome.
Actually, if you guys haven't listened to those, I think in January, they did a rundown of all the federal agencies' climate action plans and kind of ranked them, not in order, but like this agency did a great job. This agency should have used grammar check. In one case, unfortunately, it was EPA that just got the worst one, but also they said, you know, the caveat here is that so many people left EPA or were run out of EPA during the last administration. And actually, I think they really, really liked Commerce's and Department of Defense and NOAA. But I mean, I think Commerce and Department of Defense may have gotten the highest, like most concrete things in there and stuff like that. So, and that way we don't have to actually go look at them, but it was a good rundown and overview. And that was a 2-part episode.
Hey, Cheney, welcome.
Hi,
I see
thanks.
Jim and Emily have their hands up.
Oh, sorry, I was welcoming a newcomer. Jim and Emily.
I just been raising my hand the whole time, so I apologize. I forgot to take it down.
Oh,
One would be if when to the extent we get into climate action plans, which I think, how can we not? We absolutely should. There is definitely identifying now that this is not just some new thing. There are there is what is put down on paper on climate action plans, and then there's what actually happens once the ink is dry, right? And there's a very big difference between the two. There are cities in regions and states that really carry through and do that. And there are those that don't. And often the don't is very much tied to racism and lack of social equality and diversity and equity and so on. There's a city that I won't name, but at least 3 of us on the call should know pretty well. Cheney, you and I certainly know it. And I think Carrie, I don't know where you're located, but your organization is located, where it's distinctly different in what they do has done with climate action plans, and cities have done real good things like San Francisco. And the link between lack of social justice and climate action plans action is very big. If I take, for instance, work in California, there's been billions of dollars to help make trees be taken care of, and billions of dollars and to have in urban areas. And all the cities got some money on that. And some cities, when they're getting all this money, in this city in particular, I'm speaking of, in the communities of color, which is the majority of the city, in those parts of it, 25% of the trees have been lost in the last 5 years. That's how much the urban forests has went down when they're getting money to increase them. The parts that are wealthy and white, not a decrease. It's very distinct that goes it. And the reasoning is very much tied to the reason for it is very much tied to social inequity. Part of it is what the city does when choices are made. Do we cut down trees? Do we plant trees? Do we take care of trees? This city is a city most in those areas are mostly tenants. They're people of color and they're people who don't own the land. In areas where people own the land, you want trees. I mean, wealthy people like trees in their homes. I mean, we have a city inside a city, further giving evidence which is a very wealthy city. Inside the very city, they don't have a protected tree ordinance, and still they have tons of trees because people own the land and they want it. But wealthy white landlords who come in from other parts of the country, city, they don't care about trees. They just want to make money. They want to have as less maintenance as possible. They want to have things. So they want the trees cut down, and the city lets them against the law because it's the wealthy white people who decide we don't have it. And so the kids have the highest rate of asthma. There's crime goes up. It's just miserable. And then there's it just goes on and on of how all things are tied together. So I guess I'm both saying about we have to pay attention to whether climate action plans are just plans or are they real. And maybe one thing, sorry, I won't go on much longer. One more I would say is the city in particular, when they had a first climate action plan, so this is 15 years ago, it's asked, why haven't you carried forward the climate plan? Within months, they had stopped even trying to go with it. And the excuse is, well, our climate plan was so ambitious. We had 197 actions that we wanted to take that it was beyond anything that was possible. So we decided that none of it was possible. So it was written to sound good. It was written to make the city council people sound good, the mayor sound good, with no intention of carrying it out. We just want to be aware of that. We want to be aware of, we're educators and we want to tell the truth. We're not trying to just sell something that has no intention of actually happening. But we have a lot of cities to pick from, so I don't want to be gloomy. There's some great climate action plans in great cities. Thanks.
Cheney, did you want to give us a preview of what you're talking about next week? Not to put you on the spot, but you didn't share. We all shared so much today.
Yeah, I mean, there will be 2 students with me. There'll be 1 teacher, and I'll be presenting the ClimateScope project. I'm really I'll give a very quick demo. I'll let the 2 students present on their involvement and the teacher present on how they've been using it in their classroom. I'm really seeking advice, guidance, feedback. So I'm hoping about the first half will be kind of our presentation. The second half, kind of questions, feedback, thoughts, is the big gist of it. There's a quick little write-up on the clean that Gina just put up in the last couple of days. But thanks for asking.
Yeah. Awesome. Any parting thoughts? It's always nice to have 5 minutes between the next meeting.
Yeah, if you don't have your chat open, I did put some, I put a link into the America Adapts first session on federal climate action plans. And then to what James was saying, Vivek Shandis, who does urban heat island research, talked about the idea of just going in and planting trees without talking to people. And, historically, cities have gone, and when the trees weren't cared for, the cities have tried to bill the landowner for, oh, that's on your property, for taking out the tree. And so there's also like mistrust and historical problems with urban trees. And so that's a good episode too on, how not to maladapt your solution.
Really like those links. Thanks, Ginger. And
You're welcome.
just so you know, it looks like I'm coming to triangulation on the mints for NSTA too.
Are they butter mints, or like what kind of mints are they?
Oh my God, my husband's at Costco trying to buy the mints for me before I fly down there. So we're going with
What are
peppermint.
you talking about?
In the chat, I accidentally
She shared out the candies.
I wrote the chat to my husband and the chat to the clean. He's there trying to buy the NSTA mints for me because he's an awesome person. Peppermints because no one likes yucky breath behind their masks.
Okay.
All right. Wow. All right. So, wait, Wendy, does that mean you're going to NSTA?
Yeah,
In Houston?
the ed program will be there exhibiting,
Right.
participating in the teacher awards Nesta session, and
I'll be there.
awesome. Look forward to seeing you.
We look forward to seeing you as well. Let's chat offline. We have some things to do. Cool.
When is that?
The conference begins
yeah.
the 31st and goes through the weekend. And that's the first of 2 nationals happening this summer. The other one is Chicago in July.
Yeah, I saw that. It's like the week of our institute or something like that.
Yeah, no, it's horrible. They've moved to a 2 national model. They're always going to do one in July because that's when teachers are available, except that's when our courses are and EER, and I'm sure all the rest of your opportunities for teachers happen in July too. So divide and conquer.
Frank,
We
are
know
you?
Erica well,
Is Noah?
and she would be. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, is
Noah,
Noah
yes.
gonna be tabling at NSTA? Do you want to set up a time for? I mean, this is me being selfish, but also thinking about the community for folks that can't be there to have our opportunities perhaps on display, like a summer institute.
Well, let's just say yes. I'd be more than happy to promote anything that we are related to in the NOAA booth. So that may be a perfect time for the, I don't know, you know, the institute to get promoted. Let's do it.
Okay, cool. We'll get a flyer going. A flyer.
Yeah.
It's so weird to think you're gonna be like with people and stuff. I'm not quite there yet.
People and paper and
Yeah.
talking.
Yeah.
Yep. That's going to be happening.
Exciting.
And they said their numbers are rising. You know, NSTA is, you know, from its heyday of Anaheim
Human
many years ago.
numbers. Like human numbers are rising. Anytime you hear rising numbers, I'm like, that's no good.
Not cases, not cases.
Got it.
Oh, good Lord. Yes.
Trigger
The
warning.
number of people who are going to be together are going to
seriously.
be large. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you'll see what it felt. Cop felt that way. Like, holy cow, how am I with all these people in one place? But somehow it happened.
Yeah, somehow it happened.
Well, I appreciate you all being here and have a great day. And I'll see y'all later. Thank you.
Thank you.